Hi, my name is Angus Byers, and I work for Babar Books in Point Claire. I'm their graphic novel specialist, and I'm here today to talk to you about why you should get into graphic novels, especially if you've never been into them before, and how to introduce them to readers, sort of from pre reading, so around ages 4 all the way up to late teens and beyond. So what, like a graphic novel is kind of a highfalutin way of saying comic book. Um, or an even more highfalutin way is sequential art. So that's pictures and words put in sequence that tell a story. You've seen them in your newspaper. I think they still have those. You've probably encountered them other places, but and it's sort of always been viewed as a disposable art up until the last few decades in North America, where they've started to become embraced like real literature and an actual viable way of telling a story that's not disposable and something that can communicate real themes and meaning. So we're going to start pretty light and it's sort of an intro reader, but in a comic book form, like is narwhal and jelly, and this is book 3. This is peanut butter and jelly. Narwhal is a narwhal, and jelly is a jellyfish, and they live in the ocean, and they get into all sorts of adventures. Narwhal is the more free-spirited one of the group, and jelly is a little bit more serious. Um, it's for the most part, it kind of looks like a picture book, except the words are coming off of each of the characters' mouths. But on some pages, you do have multiple panels where it's broken up into little things like that. This is my dog. This is Goblin. Hi. um, so yeah, we can tag this under like cute dog videos as well. It's a great way of putting a longer story into a more easily digestible format, especially when, um, normally a book of this many words might seem a little bit daunting. But when it's done sort of like a picture book, where you've got the combination of pictures and words together, it makes it a lot easier to digest, and a little bit more fun. So that's really good for, I'd say, ages, if you're being read to, probably about like 3 or 4, all the way up to, if you're actually reading it yourself, maybe 6 or 7. A great intro reader and a great way of sort of filling in the space in between the words, using the pictures to communicate as well. Yeah. Next, I've got, this is one of the all-time greatest graphic novels ever. It's Bone by Jeff Smith. I think it's a 10-book series now, when Scholastic put it out. It was originally in sort of your floppy, traditional comic book form. Yes, high five. High five for comics. Where you had a new issue would come out every month. Jeff Smith wrote and illustrated this, and it starts off kind of like your classic cartoon where you've got 3 brothers, the Bone Brothers, which had never really explained what their species is, on an adventure looking for wealth and fame. And it turns into this magnificent, almost Lord of the Rings style quest adventure. And yeah, it's Phone Bone with an F is sort of our everyman protagonist. It's got elements of classic fairy tales, a high adventure, like I said, and it really resonates. So it starts off pretty light, but it has these moments of real passion and emotion between the characters. It's amazing. So if you are looking for something where, like this goes for basically every kid can find something in the Bone series to latch onto. and it's not going to be too daunting. Introducing something like Lord of the Rings, we've got like 3,000 pages to read. It can seem pretty huge if you want that type of big story. But this, again, makes it a little bit more digestible. It's a little bit faster. And there's that more satisfaction of being able to, well, I finished this. And I finished it in a couple of hours. That comics and graphic novels can bring. Next up, we've got New Kid by Jerry Craft. This won the Coretta Scott King Award and the Newbery Medal. So those are huge, high praises from actual, I don't know, like the authorities when it comes to children's literature. And this one is, I mean, I would say probably, it says 8 to 12, but you could go definitely as high as 14, 15, depending on the reading level. I wouldn't go too much younger because some of the themes are a little heavy. So Jordan Banks, the protagonist in this, is starting a new school. And he's an artist and he makes his own comics. So there's sort of this back and forth, almost like autobiographical feel that you get to this. But he gets sent to a high-end private school where he's one of the few children of color in it, and has to navigate where he's from, mixing with where he's going into that school, and dealing with all the other ways that people perceive him and he perceives other people. This deals with some really heavy subject matter, but in a way where you've got all these visual cues to sort of feel what the other characters are thinking. Being able to read just a word bubble, but then have the images of the children's faces reacting to all of that, gives this some real weight and some real depth and fortitude to a pretty heavy subject matter. Makes it a little bit more understandable, I think, is what I'm trying to say. Next up, now I know most people associate comics with superheroes, and there's sort of a push away from that because there's well, where do I start? Do I have to find issue number 1? Like, do I have to, oh god, are they going to be expensive? Am I going to have to go to a comic shop and deal with angry comic book guys? Nowadays, especially in Montreal, there are less and less of shops like that, where you're going to feel like sort of cut off, like you're walking into an exclusive club type of thing. But nowadays it's a lot more inviting and very good. And one of the best superhero titles out there is The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. And Ryan North is the writer on this run, and it's hilarious and fun and body positive. Like, Squirrel Girl isn't drawn the way your average superheroine is, and she's not written the same way either. Because she's the unbeatable Squirrel Girl, like, she never loses a fight, but she wins by thinking her way through, mostly. Like, if it is a knockdown, drag-out brawl, it's rarely drawn. You sort of see the aftermath with all, like, Doctor Doom being knocked over or what have you. Most of the time when there's a real problem, she solves it by figuring out why the person is angry in the first place, why they want to, cause destruction. Galactus is a character that eats planets. And so when he comes to Earth, Squirrel Girl solves it by finding him another planet that's full of nuts, because she loves nuts because they're very filling. And so there's just this great shot of them lying in the grass, like bellies overstuffed from eating all those. Are nuts legumes? I can't answer that. Anyway, but it's The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, put out by Marvel. Different take on your classic superhero tropes. In a similar vein, coming from the, again, single issue comics, and almost the superhero style and trope, is Usagi Yojimbo, put out by Stan Sakai, written and illustrated. He's been publishing Usagi stories since the early 80s, and there's still new ones coming out every month. But you can jump in anywhere. They're great little vignettes